How do you build up the courage to leave a relationship that's no longer meeting your needs? This is a question that came from one of my followers on Instagram. If you guys want to follow me and submit a question yourself, you can follow me at Living Free Finding Love. You can either message me or every once in a while I'll put up a question box where you can drop your question in there. I made a short about this and a reel to answer this person's question, but I thought it was such a great question and I wanted to give it the proper amount of space that it deserves, more than just 60 seconds. So today I'm diving into this question. What do you do when you know you need to leave a relationship, but you're scared to do it? That's what I'm talking about today. And in case you guys are new here, you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Lindsay O'Brien and I am a toxic relationship healing mentor. I help women who are ready to go on a healing journey of self-love that leads to the love of their life. All right, so if you're feeling scared to leave, but you know you need to leave, I have got you covered today. First step, build a support system. So the reason why this can be so scary and so hard is because we're afraid to be alone. So if you build your support system, then it doesn't actually feel so scary to leave a relationship like this, especially if you have abandonment fears. And I know I did, still do, working through them. But if you have abandonment fears, the idea of leaving someone can feel impossible because you think about leaving and this wall of fear and pain too hits you and you feel like, I can't do this. This is not possible. I actually can't leave this relationship. And so many of us stay in relationships that we're not happy in because we're afraid to make that move. We're afraid to feel that fear and leave the relationship we're in. It's so hard to take that leap because it feels like you're going from being in a partnership to being completely alone. So if you have that support system, then you're not actually completely alone when you're leaving that relationship. So start working with a therapist, start working with a coach or a counselor. Another thing I recommend for people in this situation is go to support groups. I know it's hard right now for COVID, but there are so many online support groups that you can go to. There are actually support groups for people who are specifically going through this type of thing. They need to leave a toxic or an abusive relationship and they're scared to. They need some help. You can find them online. If you have either yourself have a history of alcoholism or you know someone who does, you can go to Al-Anon meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous. Those are free. They also have CODA meetings, Codependence Anonymous. I don't love that term, but they can be helpful for people in a situation like this who are trying to leave painful relationships and they just need help. They need some support. So do whatever you can to build up a strong professional support system around you before you leave as much as you can. And then also get in touch with friends and family members who can support you too. Lean on them right now because this is the time where you do need as much support as possible. So you, again, don't feel completely alone when you leave this relationship. The second step to working up the courage to leave a relationship that isn't serving you anymore is to plan it out. Like actually make a list. What do I need to do to get out of this relationship? Maybe you're just dating and you actually just have to call up this person and say, we're not dating anymore, and that's it. But maybe you live with this person. Maybe your finances are intertwined. Maybe you're married. You have to go through the separation and divorce process. So if that is the case, if you have a lot of your life intertwined with this other person, then it can feel overwhelming and it can put up this wall, this barrier to leaving a relationship that you know you have to leave. So when you have a plan, and specifically when you've written down what exactly you need to do to leave this relationship, it actually becomes much more doable. So for example, if you live together, maybe on your list you have things down like, I need to find a new apartment. I need to pack up my stuff. I need to make sure I have someone to help me move. If you make a list of these things and you start to tackle them little by little, one by one, it seems much more doable to leave this relationship. It's a lot easier. You're not trying to do it all at once. You're doing these little baby steps, like, for example, you find that apartment first. Okay, check that off the list. Now I need to find someone to help me move. Okay, let me do that now. So you're doing it in baby steps, and as you take those little steps, you can also deal with and process the feelings that are coming up as you do them. You might feel scared at the idea of starting to look for an apartment. And so you feel that fear as you go through that process. And that way you're, again, doing it a little bit at a time. You're not just packing up all of your stuff at once and trying to do all this like in a day. Too much, too hard. So you're feeling those feelings a little bit at a time. Maybe it brings up some pain to think about somebody coming to help you move. And so you feel that pain, you allow that pain to be there, to pass through you, and then slowly, you're getting closer to your ultimate end goal of leaving that relationship. So as you're tackling these baby steps and you're doing them little by little, one day they will all be done and you will be ready. Not that you're going to feel emotionally ready. You probably won't feel completely emotionally ready, but maybe you will. But you'll be practically ready. All the steps will be taken care of and you can make that move out. The next step here to working up the courage to being able to leave is to accept that it's gonna suck for a while. There's no way around that part. When you leave a relationship, it's gonna feel scary and it's gonna feel sad. And if you were in a toxic relationship, there may be a whole bunch of other emotions thrown in there as well. And what this means is if you're feeling those things, you're actually doing this process right. That means you're really healing and you're really letting go of this person. If you weren't feeling anything, I would actually be a little worried about you. I'd be like, hey, stay with me here. What's going on? So the fact that it is going to suck and that you are going to feel things, again, means you're doing it right. This is part of the process. So don't go in expecting to feel great as soon as you leave that relationship. You might feel great for a time, that's part of the healing process, but you're probably also going to feel sad. You're probably going to feel scared or anxious. You may feel angry for a time. All of that stuff is normal and it's good. It's supposed to be there. Remember that all of the good things that you're looking for, that partner who will be able to meet your needs, that is on the other side of your fear and on the other side of your grief. This pain that you're going to be feeling once you leave, it's not going to last forever. And that's what your support system is for. They're there to help you through this stuff. But again, it won't last forever. How do I know this? Because I've done this a couple times. I've left painful relationships. I've gone through it. I've gone through the pain. I've gone through the fear. And I thought it was going to last forever. And I thought my life was over. And it wasn't. It actually wasn't at all. I'm now in a much better relationship. I'm so glad that I did have the courage to leave those situations I was in, because now I'm really happy where I am. And it did take me a while to work up that courage, but I did it. And if I can do it, you can do it too. The last step here is to know that you actually can do this. There's very few situations where it's not actually physically possible to leave, but that's the exception. What is most often happening is that we can leave, it's just hard. And because of the fear, and because of the pain that gets triggered when we think about leaving or make that move to leave, our mind tells us these stories. It makes up stories that we can't leave. We can't do it. We're not going to be okay on our own. Don't believe those stories. Again, they are quite literally just stories. Your mind is trying to protect you. It doesn't want you to be in pain. It doesn't want you to feel anxious. It's trying to prevent you from going there. And so yeah, it'll tell you, don't leave, you can't do it. But again, don't believe those stories. You can leave. Our mind likes to keep us in our comfort zone. We can also call this the ego. And the ego can sometimes throw a whole bunch of crap at us, a whole bunch of stories to keep us in that comfort zone. And that is often what we're faced with when we're making the decision to leave a relationship. So know that in order for you to heal, in order for you to grow, in order for you to get to the place that you want to be, which is that relationship with someone who can meet your needs, then you do have to break out of that comfort zone. And you have to essentially kind of ignore those stories that your mind is telling you and go for it anyway. What we can do here is not listen so much to the endless ramblings of the mind, but to tune into our heart, to tune into our intuition. And this sounds like that still small voice, I like to call it, that very quiet whisper that says, you can do this. Or maybe it says, it's going to be okay. Or everything is going to work out. That's the real you. That's your true self. Sometimes people call it your higher self. That's who you are beyond all those stories in your mind that tell you that you can't do this. You can do this, I promise you. One of the things that helped me coming out of my breakups was to focus on loving myself. So if you want some steps for how to do that, click on this video here and click here to subscribe. I come out with new videos every single week for how to break the cycle of toxic relationships and find healthy love.